I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs.
If you like decorating in the primitive colonial style, you have probably seen firkins or sugar buckets. They are simply wooden buckets that were used in colonial time periods for their sugar or flour or other dry goods. Some of what you find on the market today are true antiques from the colonial time period, and some are mid-century reproductions.
So I wanted to show you today some examples and how you can tell the difference between a true antique and a vintage one from the 50s. Newer ones, this is made probably in the 50s, and if you look at the inside, the wood looks clean, unused, and here's one over here that's an actual antique one, and it just looks like it has been used for food on the inside. It's got a lot more discoloration and aging on the inside. This is a true old one here, and you can really tell on the outside it looks old, but it has a lid that's been remade. So its lid is newer. Then it just sits on top there. But the bucket is old, so it works well in a stack of buckets. This one also, its lid has been remade. It matches pretty well.
This one is a newer reproduction. It doesn't look terribly used on the inside, and on the bottom you can see it really still looks very clean and newer.
A lot of the reproduction ones were magazine racks, so you can turn it over and look at the bottom and see if it has telltale signs that some wood pieces have been taken off in order to make it into just the bucket. This one is an older one, and it does not have that on the bottom. You can see the inside, and it has the original lid. And some of them have the metal on the sides, and some of them have the wood holding them together. Now sometimes they'll have paint on the top of them. Sometimes it'll be a painted scene or flowers or other things. And if it bothers you, you can always paint the entire bucket again, or you can just use it in a stack or put something else over the top of it, and that will cover it up and you won't even be able to tell.
If you do decide to paint it, you want to make sure that you sand that painted scene completely smooth, because if you just paint over it, you will be able to see the bumps where the old paint was. A lot of them have wooden handles. This one has a metal handle. On this really old one, the wood is starting to separate because the wood has dried.
So in order to swell the wood, you can put the bucket in a sink, put the stopper in the sink, and then put the bucket in there and fill the bucket with water, and that will swell the wood and it will expand, and so that there's no gaps here between the wood and the metal rings.
So again, we put the stopper in the sink, and then we put the bucket in, and we're putting water in it. You don't have to fill the bucket completely up. The water will drain out of the bucket somewhat and just be in the sink, but after a couple hours it will swell up and you can take it out and let the bucket dry.
It's been a couple of hours, and already you can see that the wood has swelled some, and it just has a firmer feel to it. It isn't all loose. So we'll let it set for a little bit longer and then take it out and let it dry.
Here's how it looks after it has completely dried.
I got this little one at a antique shop. It had a handle on the lid. I'd taken it off and filled that with some nail filler, and I'm going to paint it. So it's clearly a newer reproduction. It's got a marking on the bottom, and then it's got staples here, so you can really tell that it's a newer piece. But it's going to look fine once I paint it and put it in my stack of other Firkins. I'm going to use this Benjamin Moore. It's tinted to be a dark navy blue, Colonial navy blue. And you could use whatever paint you have that is on hand that is the color you want. And I'm just going to paint the outside. I'm not going to paint the inside. Okay, the sugar bucket's dry now, so I'm going to take some 100 grit sandpaper and sand around the edges a little bit.
I greatly sped up the video of the sanding because it took quite a while. I did sand around the edges of the top, and then I sanded all around on the bottom, but it's paying a special attention to around the bottom edge and the handle where it would have been held if it had been used. Now that the sanding is done, I'm going to put a finishing wax over the top. I'm using Min Wax Special Dark, and I'm just going to rub it on all over, rubbing with the grain, and then after I get it rubbed on everywhere, I will buff it off.
Hello, I'll see you next time. Bye.